Today on Absolute Anthem, we are diving into some brand new lore. Now, I want to tag a bit of a spoiler warning on to this piece of lore in specific because there's a good chance that bits and pieces of the story here are going to exist in Anthem's introduction. This is essentially the lead up to where we enter the storyline as freelancers and players. So if you want to experience that stuff in-game at launch for yourself, I strongly recommend you walk away right now. There's a lot of other great content creators that are releasing footage from their trip to San Francisco for the game. They've got new missions. They've got a look at the launch pad, the new social hub. Go check that stuff out. Keep yourself spoiler free. For the rest of you who need your lore fix, let's talk about the destruction of Freemark and the fall of the Freelancers. Now, a lot of people have been wondering what planet Anthem takes place on, and BioWare is still being quite hush-hush about that, but we do now know at least that the wilds, at least the ones that exist near Fort Tarsis, and the ones we'll probably explore, are known as Bastion. Bastion could be home to many other settlements and cities, but we currently know of two, Fort Tarsis and the now fallen and once thriving ancient city of Freemark. Freemark was home to an incredibly powerful Shaper artifact. It was this artifact that would lead to its destruction via the hands of the Dominion and one Dr. Harkin. That's right, new guy has a name, good old Doc Harkin. He took the Dominion, led them into Freemark, seized control of it, and attempted to use that Shaper artifact to control the Anthem of Creation. He was unbelievably wrong in his insane calculations, and he instead spawned a massive cataclysm that destroyed Freemark, created one of the most powerful Shaper storms the Freelancers had ever seen, which in turn started spewing out massive titans. This would become known as the Heart of Rage, and it is the very thing that would bring the Freelancers to their knees. Because you see, like any good neighbor, they were the first to the aid of Freemark. They sent squad after squad, javelin after javelin, and they would be strucken down again and again and again. Eventually forced to retreat with only a few still surviving, they would be stripped of their honor and they would fracture the heroic lineage that began with General Helena Tarsis, the Legion of Dawn, and the very first of the Javelin pilots. They were no longer seen as heroes. They had fallen into disgrace, and the entire economy within Fort Tarsis that functioned around the Freelancers would also collapse. It's at this point that we enter the timeline of Anthem. We are looking to restore the Freelancers, to rebuild their reputation, and we still have a few pieces of value that are going to help us do that. The big one being that, unlike the Sentinels, who don't leave Fort Tarsis, they patrol and protect the walls and the people within Fort Tarsis, but they don't leave it, we do. The Freelancers are one of the few groups that can actually go out into the wilds to scout, to take on enemy patrols before they reach Fort Tarsis, and to help individuals like Matthias and the Arcanist research, study, and even access other Shaper artifacts for their benefit, or simply to shut them down to prevent them from eventually causing more destruction or more harm to the people of Fort Tarsis. So we do still have some value, but it's not going to be easy. We're going to have to rebuild our reputation. We're going to have to rebuild the economy that functioned around the Freelancers and all of the things they used to require, the equipment they used to purchase, the things they used to need repaired and manufactured. All of that has essentially shuttered because no one was hiring them for contracts or jobs. We are at the forefront of bringing that back. All of us Freelancers who will play Anthem, we are looking to rebuild the Freelancers themselves. Now, at the same time that the Freelancers fell and Freemark was destroyed by this cataclysm, the Dominion would essentially disappear. They would murder, who knows, maybe thousands of people that day. They would create one of the most powerful Shaper storms, one of the most chaotic and destructive cataclysms ever, and then they would just poof and vanish. Now, we do know because of trailers and bits and pieces of story that they are going to make their return, likely to once again attempt to control the Anthem of Creation. And when we talk about this Dr. Harkin guy, who I initially believed could be the leader of the Dominion, I'm starting to believe that the Monitor is, in fact, like we originally thought, the actual leader of the Dominion itself. There could be another character that we maybe haven't met yet who is the true leader, and maybe Doc Harkin and the Monitor are the left and right hand of this individual, but I think the Monitor, considering we know the Dominion are a militaristic fascist faction, is probably the leader. He is well equipped for combat, his javelin looks extremely impressive and is probably relatively powerful. He is probably the truly the leader of the Dominion, and the Doctor is merely the individual who, has the theories. Oh, here's how we can do it. I'm telling you, this time we can control the Anthem of Creation. He's the crazy megalomaniac who's convinced that they can control essentially humanity and life itself. We don't like the Dominion, and they actually clash with the Freelancers on a philosophical level. They believe that they should have control and reign over all of humanity, that they should be able to decide what is good and what is bad, and at the same time use the Anthem of Creation to create things. And we already kind of see this with a lot of the Dominion units. You know, the forces that fight for the Dominion, the brutes that are probably being controlled by the Dominion, the Fury, which just seem to be abominations designed purely to create destruction. They've got seals sort of just tapped into their flesh, you know, they've been manipulated by the Dominion, and they are essentially being used as tools of war and destruction. So this is a pretty serious conflict between humanity and the Dominion, and their seemingly relentless attempt to seize control of the Anthem of Creation. And as Faye Naveen tells us, controlling the Anthem of Creation means controlling life, death, and creation itself. So it's a heavy hitter situation going on there, and it's going to be interesting to see how the Dominion make their way back into the experience as we're attempting to grow the Freelancers once again. I like the setup here, I really do, and I'm curious to know more. It's going to be nice to actually start to get some more landmarks as well, to learn about other cities and settlements, whether they're fallen or still thriving, no matter how big or how small they are. And, you know, Bastion is one location outside of Fort Tarsis. We know about Straiheim, for example, where the Dominion come from. It will be cool to actually start to get some semblance of the greater world, potentially the multiple continents or the single continent that make up the locations outside of Bastion and that connect the north where the Dominion comes from to wherever the hell Fort Tarsis is, and wherever the hell places like Anthem are, the capital city that is also located somewhere near Fort Tarsis. This is going to be really cool to kind of start to put these puzzle pieces together. Nonetheless, that is all for me today. I would love to hear your thoughts, theories, and questions down in the comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching. As a reminder, this video is made possible thanks to IGN's recent coverage of Anthem. They are the ones who got all this new story information. Brandon Tyrrell has a great post over on IGN after spending 20 hours in 2 days at BioWare's Edmonton offices. I strongly recommend you check it out, not just for the story bits that we talked about today, but because it also looks at gameplay, it looks at Grandmaster difficulties. There's a bunch of other goodness there. The sources are linked down in the description as well as the pinned comment. That is actually it from me this time. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.